Hey everybody, Joe from Complete Carnivore, and we're back here cooking a tri-tip tonight. This is an American Wagyu tri-tip from Snake River Farms. If you're not familiar with Snake River Farms, you really should be. They sell primarily American Wagyu beef. They have choice and prime and some dry aged stuff, but their claim to fame is their American Wagyu. It's a cross between Japanese Wagyu cattle and American Angus cattle, so you get the nice marbling that comes from, like, if you get a real Japanese A5 Wagyu steak or something like that, you're going to see the crazy marbling and the crazy fat content of those. So you get some of that in the American Wagyu, but you get the benefits you get of an Angus cattle, where it grows quicker to harvest, all that. So kind of the best of both worlds. With Japanese Wagyu, you can eat, they say 3 to 4 ounces. I usually eat more than that when I eat it. This you can eat a normal portion of steak. So we're going to cook this on the grill. We're going to reverse sear it, and we'll talk a little more about what that is. But let's open this up. We'll get it seasoned up, and then we'll head out to the grill here in a few minutes. I got some charcoal heating up, so I'll see if I can do this without making a big mess all over my counter. It's going to dry it up. Just pat it down with a few paper towels. You can trim all this stuff off. Looks like there's a little bit of silver skin here, but not much. I'm not going to worry about that. The meats that come from Snake River are usually pretty trimmed up. You don't need to do a lot of work on them. So I'm just going to leave this one as it is. I love the extra fat on a tri-tip like this. Some of them you can buy, not from Snake River. I've seen other ones for sale where they have the whole fat cap on them. And those are excellent. Once you get it cooked, you get kind of that rendered, charred fat going on. But we're just going to season this up, and we're going to reverse sear it. This one is about 2.9 pounds, so it's a little on the large side for a tri-tip. A lot of the American Wagyu steaks you get are going to be a little bit bigger than normal. I think I might want to trim this little end off. So I'm going to use the Snake River Farms Santa Maria seasoning. I've had this once on a tri-tip before, and it was one of the best tri-tips I ever did. It's delicious. It's not overpowering, doesn't overpower the meat, but it adds a nice flavor. If you're not familiar with tri-tip, it comes from the bottom of the sirloin primal. It was popularized kind of in central California. They cook it over red oak fires, kind of on a grill you can raise up and down, kind of Santa Maria style grill. So if you have direct heat cooking, I have a kudu grill I've done tri-tips on. That's great for direct heat like that. Yeah, there's a couple little flaps of fat here that might come off. It's great for that, but it works great on any kettle grill, any charcoal grill. I've seen people take these and smoke them like a brisket. Problem I see with that is you can buy brisket for $4 or $5 a pound. Tri-tip is usually $8, $9 a pound. This American Wagyu one's actually closer to $30 a pound or so. And everything I've seen, it's not better than brisket. It's good, and it tastes like brisket, but if you want that, go for a $4 or $5 brisket, not a more expensive tri-tip. So usually I would salt this a day before, a day or two before, and let it sit in the fridge uncovered and kind of get a dry brine going on it, but I forgot to do that. So we're just going to season this up. We're going to go with a fairly decent coating of rub here. So we'll get it, make sure we get all the sides. We'll get this thing covered. You got to check your rubs too, and kind of get a feel for how much salt they have. Because I generally like my meat a little saltier than most, so I like adding some extra salt. But this rub, if I remember right, it had a pretty good amount of salt on it. So I like good shakers on rubs. This one isn't my favorite because you kind of got to work at it to get it out of there. But you want a good coating. I mean, this is a lot of meat, so it can take a lot of seasoning. Don't forget to get the edges, get the whole thing. And in a few minutes, we're going to take this out to the grill. I got, I don't know, 15 coals or so, 15 briquettes heating up. I think this is going to be good. Maybe a little bit more. You can go as heavy with this as you want. You can go as light as you want. You can season this with salt and pepper for all. And that's delicious too. I've done that many times. Any sort of beef rub you like is good. I know there's one I really like on tri-tip. It's from Hardcore Carnivore. It's their black rub. It has like activated charcoal, so it gives a really cool look to the meat. But I really like this Santa Maria seasoning from Snake River Farms. I'll leave a link to this, and I'll leave a link to the tri-tip down in the description. They're affiliate links of mine, and if you buy through them, they send me a few bucks, so I would appreciate it. Help support this channel. So we're gonna let this sit for a couple minutes while the coals finish heating up, and then we'll be out at the grill here in just a minute. All right, we're out at the grill. This is the S&S kettle. I also have a Weber kettle. This will work fine on there. It'll work fine on the PK. Like I said, a Kudu grill is a great one for this. I had about 10 or 15 B&B briquettes. It's this stuff in the orange bag. It's probably my favorite briquettes I've been using lately. Has a great flavor. They burn hot. They burn good. The briquettes are a little bit bigger than the standard Kingsford bag or anything like that. I got a few unlit ones there just because I don't know how long this will take, and I want to make sure it has enough heat. So we're just going to put our tri-tip on, and I like putting the thicker side towards the heat because it's going to get a little more heat, and it needs a little more than down in this end. So let's get our meat probe in. We got a temperature probe right there running on the ThermoWorks Smoke X4. So we should end up running this about, I don't know, I kind of want to get 225, 250, somewhere in there. It'll probably take, I'm guessing it'll take about an hour for this to come up to temperature. I usually like my tri-tips a little more than medium rare. Medium rare, especially with the American Wagyu ones, the texture on it doesn't seem quite right. So I like it taking it a bit hotter. I usually try to get it 130, 135. Then we'll pull it off, we'll sear it, and we'll get it going there. So like I said, this will take about an hour. We'll come check it a couple times. Once it hits about 70, 80 degrees or so, I like flipping it over. The sear ends up being a little bit better that way, since you got different sides getting heat and things like that. But once it's hot, we'll put it over here. We'll put some more coals in. We'll sear it off, and we'll show all that as well. So this is going to be here for, I don't know, about an hour. We'll see how long it takes. All right, it's been, I don't know, 45 minutes or so. We're sitting about 80 degrees on our tri-tip. The pit's been running, grill's been running about 250. Stayed pretty steady in there. We're gonna take this probe out, flip this meat over. Ooh, you can see that jiggle already. That fat in there is starting to get nice and rendered out. See if I can do this. Wow, this is a jiggly tri-tip. I've never seen one that's jiggled quite like this. So we'll put that back in there, and we're gonna let this go, like I said, until it gets 120, 130, somewhere in there, maybe 135. I don't know. We'll see how I feel today. Then we're going to sear it off. We're going to get some more hot coals over here and get this thing done and slice it up and show you what it looks like. Benefit of reverse searing versus just doing a direct grill, you tend to get more even doneness all throughout. You don't end up with some of the gray on the outside and pink in the middle. You get a nice pink all the way through it, which is, I think it's nice. So we're going to let this keep cooking. All right, we got the tri-tip off. It had gotten to about 130. It took about an hour and a half to get there, so a little longer than I was thinking. I heated up some more charcoal. A lot of us just spent charcoal from other cooks that still had a little bit of life left in it, and a few new briquettes. But either way, this is blazing hot. So it's time to sear this. I'm gonna put it on here for, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds aside, and then flip it and flip it and flip it a few times till we get a nice good sear on it. So shouldn't take long. It already has some really good color. It's really a jiggly tri-tip. I've had these American Wagyu tri-tips in the past, and they haven't actually been my favorite. In a lot of ways, I almost prefer just prime or choice. I think in the past, the problem is I haven't cooked these to high enough temperature. With a choice tri-tip, you kind of want to keep it lower than 130, 125 or so. Otherwise it'll get kind of dry. But there's so much marbling and so much fat in the American Wagyus that you can take them to 135, 140. It's still going to be juicy, still going to be delicious, still going to be tender. This one, like I said, is about 130 degrees when I pulled it off. And there's some bits on the edges that are going to be a little more than that, which is fine. Sometimes the kids don't necessarily like things as rare as I might like them. So it's always good to, that's one good thing about tri-tips, is you get a lot of different donenesses. I mean, in the middle is going to be a little more rare than on the ends. So if you're feeding people that kind of like well done or medium well even, tri-tip's a great cut for that. You can cook these quicker too. If you just cook them kind of a medium heat, direct, flip it often, you can get it done in 20-30 minutes probably. But since it was cooking at, like I said, it was about 250 degrees most of the time. Last few minutes it bumped up to about 280. It took a while because this is a big thick hunk of meat. I mean, this is a 2.5 pound or 2.9 pound, almost 3 pound tri-tip. So you're gonna be able to feed 5-6 people easily on this. It'll feed our family and we'll have plenty of leftovers. So if it's September now, holidays are coming up. If you have a smaller family gathering for even Thanksgiving or Christmas, a tri-tip roast is a great way to go, instead of a prime rib or some bigger cut of meat like that, even a turkey. If you want to do a tri-tip, nothing wrong with that. When we lived in Florida, we lived there for 5 years, and we had friends from California who were living there as well. And since California's a tri-tip thing, every Christmas he'd cook tri-tip. It was kind of hard to find over on the East Coast, and down in Florida we'd see it at the grocery stores occasionally, but most of the tri-tips I ever had, I had to order or get a butcher to bring them in special for me. So if you're on the East Coast or somewhere in the South, wherever, and you have trouble finding tri-tip, Snake River Farms, again, great place to buy them. There's a couple more, I'll link to those as well in the comments, and I'll link to this grill. This is a SNS kettle. I really like it. It has using the slow and sear on it. It's great for keeping the temperatures in check while you're doing the slow part, and it's great for bundling up the coal so you can do a nice sear. There's a lot of good features about this. I have some other videos on this. If you search around my channel, you'll find them. But just some different reviews of this grill. I love the ThermoWorks thermometers. I have the ThermoPen 1 here. Let's give a quick check of this temperature. Yeah, 127, 128. Now we're getting 130. So once you start searing, you don't get a lot of different, the temperature doesn't rise that much up in the middle. I want to go for a pretty hard sear on this one today. So we're going to keep this going for a bit, because I'm not worried about the temperature of the meat, the internal temperature going too high. So I'm just going to keep flipping it. This is getting a little bit almost charred on the back, but that's fat that's charring and rendering and burning. Not really burning, just turning delicious. So I'm okay with that. But we're going to keep searing this off another few minutes and it will be ready to go. So I won't let you watch me flip it back and forth like this. But we'll be back in a few minutes. We're going to let this rest for probably 10 minutes or so and then slice it up, and I'll let you see what that looks like. We're ready to cut into this. We're ready to eat. One thing to keep in mind about tri-tip, you see the grain of the meat runs this way. So if you cut it all the same, you're going to end up with some bites in here that don't get cut the right way. So I like to usually split it right here, so then you can kind of cut that way, and then you can get your knife and go that way. So, but I'm just going to cut a few slices off the end, and then I'll take it inside and cut the rest of it. Now, the light outside usually makes things seem not quite as rare as they actually are, but you can see this. You can see, wow, that looks amazing. You see there's all kinds of fat running through here. All kinds of fat in this meat. Let's see if we can get it as close as we can here. I'm going to take a bite of this. We're going to see how this tastes. Wow. That's amazing. This rub is great on this piece of meat. Tri-tip has a really beefy flavor, so you kind of need a little bit of a stronger rub on it. And that's what this has. Super tender, super juicy. This is about a perfect tri-tip, in my opinion. Again, it's not going to look as pink as it is in inside light, but you can trust me, this is done right how I wanted it. All right, well, it's time for dinner. I gotta get this inside and cut it up for everybody. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. If you want to go buy one of these tri-tips, there will be links to that down below, and a lot of the different equipment I've used. This is a Dal Strong slicing knife. I love it. I'll leave links to that down below. But yeah, comment, like, share, subscribe, do all those fun things for me, please. And I will talk to you next time.